It's Sports by the Book here from the South Point studio. I'm Matt Nevert, along with Alex White, and got a special guest to join us right here off the top as we approach Super Bowl 58. It's the man responsible for just about everything that we're doing here at the South Point studios, and I want to welcome you guys in. I want to welcome in our guy, Chris Andrews. He's our guy here at the South Point. And
I'm not that special. I'm here every day. What are you talking about?
That's just your opinion,
Very
Chris.
special.
Well, you made the exception this week. You're here every day this week.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because it is the busiest week of the year. Of course, Super Bowl 58 coming up this weekend. We got a 2-point favorite in the San Francisco 49ers. Ho-hum the 20th time this season. Every single game they have been favored. Wanted to bring you on to start the show, Chris, and welcome in our viewers. Just with an update on the handle both sides. You said on the props you're taking some pretty even action when we were talking off-air. What about on the game itself, the spread, the total, and the money lines? How is the action looking from a balance standpoint?
Well, I know Jimmy posted a one bet. The guy came in and bet us $150,000 early in the week. Mm-hmm. So we moved the number. And since then, so he bet on the 49ers, laid 1.5, laid $1.14, I want to say, on the money line. We've had some other money line play too. I wound up going to a quarter plus a dime, so or plus 15. We're using a dime line. And like Jimmy and I were just talking back there, I mean, Wednesday night in baseball season, aren't you using, Tampa Bay and Colorado? Aren't you using like a dime line there? Yeah. And why can't you use a dime line on the Super Bowl, for God's sake? So we got a ton of money on both the money line and the point spread. Since we did move that number off the original bet, it's pretty much been all Kansas City. We're still not evened up yet, but the action's been terrific. And we mentioned the one guy bet the 49ers. He's not the only one. There's a lot of other guys betting the Niners too. So there's a lot of money on both sides. But I think I'm happy with that. But I still think the props are going to outright the game itself. That's my opinion. But we're still who knows how many couple days away. So.
I'm glad you brought up props. I'm really curious. Do you still bet on any props?
I told you I can remember the last prop I bet. Wasn't that long ago. It's when Tampa Bay with Tom Brady was playing Kansas City. Yeah. And I love Tampa Bay in the game. Mostly because, like a lot of other guys, I saw the offensive line troubles for Kansas City. So rather than taking, I think I could have even taken 3.5 or taken a good money line. I played Tom Brady to win the MVP. I think I took plus 250.
Wow.
Took a hell of a price. And of course I won it. It was, which is always a nice memory. But if you remember, Gronk had a huge game.
Yeah, he did.
And he had that one pass across the middle, and I can't remember who it was, hit him in the ankle. And he would, otherwise it was nothing but green grass to the end zone. And I know if he caught that pass, I think he gets the MVP.
Yeah.
So
would have been the first tight end ever to win Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, and I think they would have loved to give it to Gronk, but I wound up winning that bet, and that's the last prop bet I made. I don't swear off him or anything. Like I said, I got 300 props on my board. I got enough sweat. If something jumped out at me, I'd probably play it, but nothing. I don't think so this year.
Are there any props this year in particular that you're going to be sweating out? Anyone that is lopsided action from the proposition standpoint?
Well, there's probably a few, but I'm starting to get two-way action on almost all the props, which tells me that my opening lines weren't all that bad. I have one guy who, he comes in every year and bets me, and he's bet me well over 200,000 so far. But we do okay with, we beat him out of a little bit last year. He beat me out of a little more than that 2 years ago. So, but I have a ton of respect for him. And tell you the truth, I try to go in with the same sides that he has as much as I can. And I got a few guys like that I really monitor their play. And if I can go in with the same sides, then that's fine. But I'm getting good two-way action right now. So I'm not too strung out really on anything. But like I said, we still got a few days to go.
That's a good position to be in, even though it is still early. We had Jay Kornegay on the show yesterday, who runs the book over at the Westgate Superbook, and he echoed your sentiment that he thinks that because the game is not really near a key number, open to 2.5, but has now been anywhere from 1.5 to 2, basically market wide since the first couple of days that the line opened. He echoed your sentiment, though, that he thinks that the props are going to outright the game itself. And would that be a first for you, having more action on props than on the game itself?
It's got to be close. I think last year was really close. And I know Jay's a good friend of yours. He's a good friend of mine, too. That dirty rat, all that extra murk, because he's created a lot of this monster that we're looking at. But I still, and I really do. I love Jay. And I don't know if I said it on this show, but a lot of times after a bad Sunday, I see that first text Monday morning. It's Jay. Did you guys get murdered, too? Yeah, we did, Jay. So we're in the same boat. But I do have to tease Jay about one thing, and I am dead serious about this. My wife and I, we moved to town in 2016. She opened an account, $200, and she asked me where to open. I said, "Well, open at the Westgate. They'll give you the best bang for a buck." So I love Jay; does a great job over there. She has never put more money in that account.
Wow,
never. 6 years, and I always kid him. I says, "Yeah, you're the sharpest bookmaker. You can't beat my wife."
Taking it right
it is
bank,
true.
Right? Yeah.
Now, she's gotten close a couple times,
That's what it's all about.
But I mean, it's like $10 bets.
Yeah.
And she doesn't ask me; she goes and bets.
Very good.
Matter of fact, me and Vinny will sit there on Sunday morning. Who's Pam like today? She writes it down. But it's true. But Jay's a good friend, and I think really one of the best bookmakers in town. And I think I kind of kid him about this monster that he's created, but I think the monster that he's created has been actually pretty good.
Very good. We're enjoying it, that's for sure. He also said that recreational bettors tend to bet the overs and then the sharps with the unders. Do you think that's how your two-way action with the props is?
Not yet. Okay. It's still mostly sharp action.
Okay.
And I think right now, we did move the number enough. I don't want to open myself to a lot of middles. I mean, they do happen, and that's just part of bookmaking. But I think there's some arbitrage guys out there. But the guy who bet me originally, and like I said, I highly respect his moves and all. He wasn't arbitraging anything. He was betting. So we'll see how he does. And I don't know if I'm going to be rooting for him in half of these. Probably am going to be rooting for him in about half of those props.
That's the beauty of being a bookmaker during Super Bowl week. You don't have to make your mind up for who you're going to root for. You just see where the money goes, and your rooting interest is decided.
Yeah.
One thing that we've been talking about and that you've been mentioning here over these last 2 weeks is that so much of the action comes in late. When the recreational bettors come to town, when the fans of the teams themselves and people who are here just to party, when they come to town, that's when the real money comes in. At this point right now, if you had to take a guess, put a number on it, what percent of the total action on the game have you taken right now as we sit Tuesday, 5 days before the game itself?
25%.
Wow.
Something like that.
Incredible.
Yeah, and we always say Friday. It really kind of starts Thursday. It's about Thursday night, because a lot of people take off Friday, especially people coming in from out of town. What the hell, they're going to come in Friday or the Thursday night instead of Friday night. So it really starts picking up Thursday. And this is two attractive teams. And I go back 2 years ago when we did set the record. Now, we did have an LA team in there, so that meant a lot. But LA and the Bengals, not really two super attractive teams.
Nationwide,
these two teams, listen, the Niners have been there the last couple of years. Probably would have made the Super Bowl last year if Purdy doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And, of course, Mahomes, he's, this is his fourth Super Bowl, third? I know he's won two.
Third. This is his fourth, rather.
This is his fourth.
He's 2-1 Super Bowl so far,
Anyway, should be fun.
Last week when we talked, so South Point still had rooms available for the weekend. Do they still?
Yeah, check today, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many seating areas for the big day on Sunday? I'm excited. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to hang out here and watch the game and
about
check out the showroom.
4,000.
Okay.
Yeah, about 4,000. The big party is up in the exhibit hall. Listen, they're all great parties. Just that 2,500 there, 1,000 in the other room, about 300 or 400 in another room. All around the casino, the sports book will be full, Grandview will be full, the showroom. I think the showroom, which seats about 300, that's the best place to watch the game. But
Mike, get the best view.
You get a great view, great TV, good food specials,
but there's
cocktail
betting
waitresses.
In one. That's where
we won't have betting at the show.
Okay,
we won't have betting there. But what's it, 100 yards to the sport? Or get the app.
That's right.
Get the app. Don't get the app on Sunday morning. I try to. All our people try to be as nice as they can. They might be a little testy that morning. Putting in applications. So come in. Try to do it before Sunday morning, please. Do us all a favor.
You heard it here first. If you're in town, come on down to the South Point. Get your South Point app. You can bet all the games, all 19-plus pages of the props in this packet as well will be available on the app. And, Chris, we'll let you get back to work, but wanted to bring you on just to update some of the numbers and kind of the betting trends as we get closer to the game. And, busy week for you. You're just getting started.
Thanks. Yeah. I got a good night's sleep last night, though. That was
all that
really
matters,
important.
right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Okay,
We'll let him
thanks,
get back
guys.
behind the counter.
Thank
He's
you,
Chris
Chris.
Andrews, the director of the Sportsbook, right behind us here at the South Point. Great start to the show as we approach Super Bowl 58. At 3:30 or in about 20 minutes, we'll bring on sports media personality Arash Markazi. You may remember him from his work with the LA Times, ESPN, now running his own show at the Sporting Tribune, covering sports in America's Southwest. We'll talk college basketball coming up in a few minutes. We've got some NBA and NHL plays as well. But, Alex, we've been talking props all week. We're going to continue here today and talk about some of our favorites. Yesterday, we highlighted some that were just more interesting to us and maybe some that could be bet through some trends. But today, you're getting the hard plays, the hard numbers that we've crunched, and some of our favorite props. And right off the bat, we'll start with one that you like. You heard Chris talk about Brock Purdy and what the 49ers season could have been last year without the injury, but you think that Brock Purdy in a big-time situation is going to have a big-time game through the air.
I love it. So we kind of categorized trying to get a passing prop reception, maybe a rushing in there, anytime touchdown. So starting with the passing prop, I'm definitely looking at Brock Purdy in this one over 242.5 yards. He's gone over this in 7 of the last 10 games. His median on the year is 254 yards per game. And, I mean, 254 in his last 4 games. His median on the year is 261.
Wow.
A lot of people think that they're going to be playing from behind. I'm not necessarily in that camp, but I do think he will use his arm and will get over this 242.5.
Yeah, that one, number 3269 on the prop sheet here at the South Point. Purdy over. One area that I saw when I was doing research on some other props is that Purdy actually performs more than surprisingly well when pressured. When teams drop back in coverage and have 4 rushers, that's when he has really struggled. I don't know what kind of a defensive game plan this KC team is going to employ here. I would think it is one with pressure.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about a sacks prop later because you're looking at that as well. But I think that Purdy has performed very well under pressure. So he's kind of a almost, they call it in baseball, a reverse split, kind of the exact opposite of what you would think. But Purdy, when getting the ball out of his hands quick, I think that's when he's at his best.
I completely agree, and you brought it up numerous times on this show. We've seen them now in 2 games. They can come from behind, and that has a lot to do with Brock Purdy under center.
If they do fall behind late, they will need his arm to mount a big-time comeback, which would be the 3rd week in a row, which is just about as many times as Kyle Shanahan has done in the entirety of the rest of his career. So, yeah, you like Purdy over 242.5. And for the passing prop that I like, take a look at number 3297 if you've got your prop sheet in front of you. I like Patrick Mahomes to throw a touchdown pass in the first quarter. And I highlighted it when I was on with Frank Nicotero earlier on Punchlines as a guest, and kind of said it throughout the week. I think this game is going to be fast early, slow late. I think that both teams come out with a fervor on the offensive side of the ball and really try to get it going. And the number that I gave out yesterday is a main reason why I like this one. The Chiefs have scored on the opening drive in 8 straight playoff games. That's the longest streak in the NFL since 1991. It's been, a long time since that's been tracked. No one's done it better than the Chiefs as far as scoring on their opening drive of playoff games. Plus, Andy Reid with extra time to game plan. I think that both teams come out with a really, really solid game script, especially in those first 15 to 20 plays. You can get that prop, by the way, at plus 180. And I like Mahomes to throw multiple touchdown passes in the game. I think he gets it going early, and I'd like him to throw a touchdown pass in the first quarter. Take a look at the first drive, and that'll be a theme kind of throughout some of these props. I think that the Chiefs have a really, really good start and are able to find ways to attack this 49ers defense, but then as they so often do, San Francisco is going to find ways to adjust late. So those 2 of the passing props that we like, and you had a certain player on one of these 2 teams that you're looking at in the receiving prop market.
I am. So shop around. If you can find receptions, I think I like that more. I did see Noah Gray over 1.5 receptions. I think I like that more, but I don't mind this at all, and that is over 11.5 receiving yards for Noah Gray. That is 34.75 here at South Point. Median on the year is 16.5. Only 8 yards against the Ravens, but if you watch that game, they didn't really need to get creative in the second half. They were playing a very easy run game there with the lead. 26 yards against the Bills and 20 against the Dolphins. And Andy Reid has used 2 or more tight ends in 45% of his snaps in the last 2 games. So Noah Gray, they're going to get him involved. I mean, I love Travis Kelce in the first half. I've talked about that a lot as well, but I really think that this is a good spot to grab Noah Gray as well.
Interesting. Yeah, some low numbers, just trying to take advantage of maybe his first 2 catches are for like 20 yards, and you're in on both of these pretty early on.
That's right.
That's kind of what you're hoping for. And like I've kind of highlighted, I think that the Chiefs throw a ton at the beginning of the game.
I was going to say, I like your passing prop. That kind of goes with my narrative as well.
Yeah, and one that I like as well is a guy, another low number. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire under 5.5 receiving yards. Now, he really has not been featured whatsoever in the playoffs as a whole. I mean, just pulling up his game log here. In the 3 playoff games, 7 carries for 21 yards, 2 carries for 31 yards, 1 for 1. In the receiving game, it's even more paltry. 1 catch on 1 target for 5 yards, 1 catch on 1 target for a loss of a yard, 2 catches, 2 targets, 3 yards. So they are not targeting him down the field whatsoever. And the other big note that I wrote down was that, aside from those 7 yards on 4 catches total between 3 playoff games, you look at his numbers from the regular season, he had 188 regular season receiving yards. But you got to take into context, 135 of those were in a 3-game stretch from weeks 15 to 17. So they got him really involved in the passing game for a finite period of time. And then he's got, let me do the math, 14 yards in 4 games since then.
Wow.
So I really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think if they're going to throw the ball, it's going to be down the field. And they're going to lean on Pacheco in the run game a lot, especially in the second half. So I don't think that they target Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or as me and my brothers call him, K.
I will say, I love that. I'm going to highlight that. I will probably tell you on that. You really want to look for unders that you like as well. And early in this week, of course, we're looking for overs. It's the best time to grab them. And everybody who's watching, I mean, they want overs and they want to root for points and action in this game. But you do have to be careful. I mean, last year was a dream, right? That game flew over, and I think all the over props hit just about because those two were going back and forth. But it doesn't always happen in the Super Bowl, so just be aware if you find a good under that you like, and I think you found a great one there, Matt.
And we talked about the running back situation for Kansas City. They're a little bit deeper, obviously, than this San Francisco team that features Christian McCaffrey and just about nobody else in the backfield. As we move on to our rushing props, I brought up Isaiah Pacheco, and you like his over in terms of rushing yards in this game.
I do. I went over 65.5 rushing yards. That's 33.45 here at South Point. His median on the year is 66, so that probably doesn't give you much hope. But the Chiefs, they had a turning point after that game on Christmas against the Raiders. We all saw it. Their offense has completely flipped the switch. Since then, his median is 93 yards per game. I expect them to lean on him and him to have some big plays here to get over that 65.5.
And then you and I both like different Christian McCaffrey props. You like his longest rush over, correct?
I do. His median on the year is 22, and in the last 4 games, it's 32. I think they are really going to try and get Christian McCaffrey the ball. I mean, it's the biggest game of the year. What are you going to do? Give the best player on your team the ball.
I like that. I like that thinking, and it's kind of the reason why I look at first rushing attempt over 3.5 yards. Again, just from a game planning perspective, you're going to get the best player the ball in the situation where he's going to be the most successful. And like I said earlier with the Chiefs, I think the same goes for the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. They've got 2 weeks to script this game out. I think that they're going to find a way to get McCaffrey the ball in space, set the tone early. Even a 4-yard rush gets you over this one. So I really, really like Christian McCaffrey first attempt over 3.5 yards. It's toggling between -110 and -120, but I like it at either or. That's not too big of a straddle when you're talking about a prop like this. So yeah, McCaffrey over. You like his longest rush over 17.5. And when it comes to touchdown props, we're on 2 players from 2 different teams, but yours has a little bit of a caveat to it.
Mine does, and I talked about it yesterday, but I'm going to double down here. I really like Travis Kelce first half touchdown. I just think you're getting the most bang for your buck. It's plus 210 here. 2 of the 3 playoff games he scored in the first half. 3 of his 5 regular season touchdowns were in the first half, and it's just funny because they're always the big game, the standalone games. When I went through the season, and it was the Sunday night game or the 1:30 game where there was only 2 other ones. So he loves this. He lives for the moment. I think they're going to get him involved early as well. So I like Travis Kelce first half touchdown.
And of course, Taylor Swift's going to be there. He always performs better when she's in the house. I like that, the first half, especially at plus 210, similar with my Chiefs first drive handicap.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever to see Travis Kelce get a red zone target on that first drive and score the opening touchdown of this game. That'd be an interesting number to look at. Let me look when we go to a break later what Travis Kelce first Chiefs touchdown number would be.
Yeah.
But the one that I like is Brandon Ayuk anytime touchdown, plus 140, a little bit lower of a number because it is the full game prop, but he is finding ways to get more involved in this offense. And we talked about it yesterday that he has gotten more and more red zone targets as the season has gone along. And I really think that they target Brandon Ayuk early and often. A lot of the pressure defensively from the Chiefs' perspective is going to be on a now healthy Deebo Samuel, a fully healthy Christian McCaffrey, and I think Ayuk and maybe even George Kittle. I think those two guys are the ones to take a look at for me in the anytime touchdown market. You can get Kittle at plus 170. I like Ayuk as more of a quote-unquote sure thing. Gets more targets in more situations, and especially lately in the red zone.
I think that's what I'm most excited about in this game, to see what Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan come up with. I think they're going to get very creative and try and get as many players as they can involved. So I like that a lot. We had Matt Hamilton on our show, and he gave out Ayuk before the Lions game, actually, and said in the 6 games that he scored a touchdown, the Niners won. He scored again against the Niners. It was a lucky touchdown for that one, but he scored and they won again. So if that works out again, might be a Niners victory here.
You actually have the page up with first touchdown. What is Travis Kelce first touchdown on the top right there?
Plus 275.
Plus 275. So I don't hate that as a just a shot in the dark bet on who's going to score that first touchdown, because the one that I like, the one general prop that I really like in the game, and I've highlighted it throughout the week, 31.83. What will the Chiefs do first? Score or punt? Again, that number, the Chiefs have scored in their opening drive in their last 8 playoff games in a row, longest streak in the NFL since 1991. Despite the 5 punts in the second half last week, I think that's a trend that continues early on, and especially even money. I like the Chiefs to score before they punt.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tail a lot of these props that we've gone through the last 2 days.
Right.
You found some really good ones. I can't believe that streak. It's absolutely amazing, but it makes sense. And to go back to your Travis Kelce, last year in the Super Bowl, the Eagles did score first, but the Chiefs went down, answered that, and Travis Kelce was the first to score for the Chiefs.
There you go. So maybe back-to-back years, he's one of the handful of guys that can do it.
That's right.
Your generic prop is interesting as well, and it also follows a streak that's taken place over recent years. The team that scores last wins the game. You like it to happen again?
I do. So early last week when these came out, I thought it was about 150. It is up to minus 220 here, and it might even... They'll update us there, 31.05. It might have even moved a little bit more. But that's because this has a 13-0 streak going in the last 13 Super Bowls.
Incredible.
The team that scored last won the game. So, we're at minus 180. Okay.
Ooh, so some action back the other way.
Okay. I like it.
We like that. I think that tells you that folks are thinking, sharps and public alike, that this game's going to be late scoring back and forth action.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, you got to think about that most public bettors are in here just trying to make fun bets. This will be fun if this happens, right? They aren't really diving in necessarily. I mean, some do. I got to give people credit. But they don't know that there's a 13-0 streak here, and it just kind of makes sense. Okay, if they're coming back and forth, they could win this and get that plus money. But I like the favorite in this one.
And our last of the 5 categories that we took a look at in props was generic, at least how we had it written down, but it may as well have been unders, because we had a lot of unders that we like, so we have a category just for the unders. Yours are more on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes, so yeah, that is my favorite one. And I saw total sacks combined 4.5. I like that under, especially both of these quarterbacks have proved that they can scramble. We know Mahomes, obviously. His median on the year is 1 sack. Purdy is 2. Here at the South Point, they have them split up. I mean, I think it's actually better value because it's 2.5. So if you want to make a bet on both of those, 32-44 Chiefs going under that 2.5 is minus 120. And what shocked me is the Niners, 32-42. Under 2.5, that one's actually favored a lot more than the Chiefs side. I thought that was, right?
That is weird, yeah. It's interesting. And one of my 2 unders that I like the best are ones that I kind of gave out yesterday, and we've been talking about the Chiefs in the second half and the fourth quarter going under. They've been the best in NFL history since that's been tracked dating all the way back 20 years to 2005. I like both second half under 24 and fourth quarter under 13.5. But we were talking to Chris Andrews before the show. That latter one, the fourth quarter under, has actually moved from 14 down to 13.5. I still like it. Again, the Chiefs 17-2 to the under in the second half this year, and 18-1 to the fourth quarter under. That is as good as it gets if you're looking at betting trends. And with the Super Bowl, it's all about trends. And with us this week, it is all about props. So I definitely wanted to highlight some of our favorites. And We got about 5 minutes before we break, before Arash Markazi joins us, and wanted to highlight a couple of our favorite college basketball games because one that Alex and I are both on starts here in about 6 minutes, and it's in the SEC. It is Ole Miss at number 15 South Carolina. All of a sudden, the Gamecocks, one of the hottest teams in the country, winners of 5 of their last 6, 8 out of the last 10. They're length 3.5. I actually got a better number on this one early this morning. I got this Gamecocks at 3. You and I are both on South Carolina, though, in this game.
We are, and you have a lot of numbers here for us, which, South Carolina, they're 11-1 straight up at home and 8-4 against the spread. So I was really looking at that. Then I kind of looked to see if they already played, since we're into conference play here. They haven't played yet this year. They did play last year, and South Carolina has revenge because Ole Miss knocked them out of the SEC tournament last year. So I love that factor as well. So them being at home and that revenge, I laid the 3.5 here. I'd still be okay with the 4.
Yeah, Gamecocks hot, playing at home. I think Michi Johnson has a really big game. And the other handicap for me in this one was that Ole Miss is coming off of a home loss against Auburn, where the Tigers outscored the Rebels, get this, 56-33 in the second half. That was a game that Ole Miss led at the half, and the wheels completely fell off. I'll take the deeper and the hotter team in the South Carolina Gamecocks. And one other game we definitely want to mention before we break is another one that starts at 3:30. Rutgers at Maryland. Maryland laying 8, total at 125.5. You think this one's a defensive battle?
I do, and I didn't really notice until diving into the numbers today. Both these teams on KenPom. So we have Rutgers that's third best adjusted defense efficiency in the country, and then Maryland is the 6th best.
Wow.
So I really do expect a defensive battle between these two. Rutgers are 15-6 to the under this year, 6-3 on the road, and Maryland 15-7 to the under, 4-1 to the under in their last 5.
We'll have other college basketball plays coming up, including at least 2, right, that you and I are both on. So if you want a squad ride with Alex and I, we'll have a couple more college basketball plays for you tonight in a loaded slate across the country. We'll step aside here, take a 2-minute break. When we return, our man Arash Markazi joins us from Radio Row, about 6 miles that away from Allegiant Stadium. We're talking Super Bowl and more. Don't go anywhere. Back in 120 seconds on Sports by the Book.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
We're back on Sports by the Book. She's Alex White. I'm Matt Neverett. Big thanks to Chris Andrews for joining us at the top of the show. And now, without further ado, it is sports media personality, writer, Twitter poster, just about anything you can think of in sports media. This guy has done it. It is Arash Markazi joining us from Radio Row at Allegiant Stadium. Arash, thanks for joining us. What is the feel at Super Bowl week right at Allegiant Stadium today?
It's been great so far. I mean, yesterday with Super Bowl opening night, it was great. I mean, it's not normally done at the football stadium where the Super Bowl will take place. Normally done at an arena or a baseball stadium. So it was nice to go check out the Allegiant Stadium. The actual field that will be used during the Super Bowl is getting a nice drench outside of the rain, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, the rain couldn't have been timed more perfect for the sod father and his company kind of running things there. So you've covered a number of Super Bowls. We were trying to figure out before we took the air how many. You've covered, we'll say, a dozen, 10 to 12 Super Bowls. How does this one compare, at least so far in your experience, with the lead-up, whether it's from the media side, from the fans' perspective? Has Vegas done anything differently than a lot of the other Super Bowls to this point?
Well, it's fantastic because Las Vegas is a city that I think most people want to go to if there's not a Super Bowl. And as you both know, when you are looking at going to the Super Bowl, if you can't get a ticket to the game, the next best place, and sometimes probably the best place to be, is in Las Vegas. So now the actual Super Bowl game will be coming to Vegas. And I do think you'll see a lot of people. Again, there's a lot of talk shows that come out here, and they come here for the week, and then they go back home Friday or Saturday or first thing Sunday. I guess a lot of people are going to want to hang around, maybe go hang out with you guys at the South Point and really enjoy Vegas Super Bowl week.
What's your favorite part about Media Day, Radio Row, and everything leading up to the Super Bowl?
You know what? It's really catching up with a lot of people. I mean, this is one of those things where you might watch someone's talk show or be on their podcast or something, and it's really great to see a lot of old friends and stuff like that. But also the amazing events surrounding the Super Bowl. When you talk about either, Shaq's party or the Maxim party or all these big events, it is fun. And it is one of those things where I always look forward to coming to the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl in Vegas, as you guys have done, that is next level. It's incredible.
And one thing on Twitter that you posted, follow at Arash Markazi on Twitter, was that the NFL basically came out and said that Allegiant Stadium is going to be added to the rotation of Super Bowl stadiums, which includes SoFi in LA, Miami, New Orleans, and Tampa. Now Vegas, kind of rounding out that starting five of Super Bowl stadiums. Is it a surprise to you for the NFL to come out and say that before the Super Bowl was ever even actually played at Allegiant Stadium, or they've just loved the lead up to it that much?
No, they really do love the footprint. They love the fact that it's at Mandalay Bay, Allegiant Stadium connected, the Luxor is the media hotel, the Excalibur. I mean, you go down the list. I mean, they are all here in close proximity. So this is sort of in line with New Orleans. If you guys have ever gone to there for a big event, what makes it so great is you fly in, you take your Uber, Lyft, or taxi, and that's it. You don't have to drive anymore. And that's the same with Las Vegas. Once you check in to the media hotel, you walk to Radio Row, you walk to the stadium, you walk to grab a bite to eat or a drink. But it is very convenient, and the league loves that.
Very good. We're glad it's convenient for you. And I have to bring this up because there was a lot of backlash on the media being placed at Luxor, but you did tweet that it wasn't that bad. Is that right?
It's not bad at all. In fact, I'm staying here a couple of nights. I'm at a convenience. Listen, I think the Luxor takes a lot of unintended strays for no reason, and I'm not saying it's the win or anything like that. But listen, for what you're paying per night, it's a fine facility. I have stayed at a lot worse places, but again, no one should care. We are the media. I'm here on Radio Row. I'm talking to you guys. This is the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Arash Markazi joining us here on Sports by the Book. Media personality, and starting the Sporting Tribune, which we'll get to in a minute. But I wanted to take a step back. Describe for us, if you will, Arash, when people hear Radio Row, if you're not a media member, you really don't know what that is. So if you could enlighten us a little bit for the uninformed, what is Radio Row? And for you as a writer, sports personality, radio talk show host, what does an average day look like in the lead up to the Super Bowl?
You know what? I mean, it's really 24/7. But if you want to say, like, when's it, really packed, you would say maybe like 6 a.m. to maybe 6 p.m. And it's really like every talk station, 160 plus are here. You go down the list of like ESPN, Fox Sports, and you go down, like all those TV personalities, talk show personalities are here. And then when we begin to ramp things up, well, beginning a little bit Wednesday, but more so Thursday, Friday, it's really like a who's who, and they're all walking around with a publicist, and they all have something to pitch. So it's like, do you want to talk to Tony Romo? Okay, well, you got 5 minutes, but you also got to plug this pizza company, and you're like, sure, whatever. It is chaos, but it's fantastic. I really do love it. I enjoy it. I grew up watching it on TV, so it's surreal to kind of have my own table and booth here where we've gotten to talk to so many people so far.
I saw a clip from Boomer Esiason's show this morning where it just kind of describes the nature of Radio Row and how the media is kind of just paraded around throughout the week. They thought that they were getting Randy Moss, Hall of Fame wideout, as a guest, and then some horse racing talk on the side. They were getting Randy Moss, horse racing announcer, who wanted to talk some NFL on the side. And they found that out on the air live. And, you know, it's I can only imagine being the horse racing Randy Moss coming in after seeing how disappointed they were that you were you and not Randy Moss. I thought that was so funny and kind of describes what it is, because it is organized chaos at the end of the day.
I mean, the number of people that you get pitched is pretty amazing. From Carrot Top was in front of me, and then you kind of have to figure out a way, how can I shoehorn in a sports topic to Carrot Top or something like that. But it's fun. I mean, it is. I mean, the reason that the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl, right, is that you don't have to be a sports fan. I think it'll be the most watched television broadcast in human history. So I think everyone's just wanting to figure out, who's your pick for the game or who's your favorite team. But it is so much fun.
I'm putting you on the spot, but who's your favorite guest that you've had on Radio Row throughout the years?
You know what? I mean, it's so much fun when you get to talk to someone that you grew up a fan of. So I was a big fan of Barry Sanders growing up. And so I got to talk to Barry Sanders. He was doing a Super Bowl commercial a couple of years ago. So again, 10 minutes. But when you get a chance to talk to Barry Sanders, I mean, that is a thrill.
And Arash, wanted to get your thoughts on the game itself. We've talked about all the festivities surrounding it, but in your opinion, who do you like? The 49ers laying 2 points with a total of 48. What are your thoughts on the game itself?
I like the Chiefs. I like the over. And I just, I'm still amazed by the point spread. I'm happy the point spread was what it was when I got to Vegas, and the 49ers were favored by 2.5. I just like the Chiefs. And again, a close game, much like it was last year, late field goal to win it. But I just like San Francisco. I'm sorry, I like Kansas City. Yeah, I love the Chiefs, but I can't believe that the 49ers are still favored.
And I think it's a lot of just even action kind of on both sides. We've heard Chris Andrews talking, and then that's only going to get more throughout the week. I think a lot of the late money is going to come in on the Chiefs and the over. Arash, one last question before we let you go. Nothing to do with football. You were posting on your social media about some of the World Cup games coming to SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Wanted to get your thoughts on that because the U.S. has not hosted a World Cup game at all in a while. And then the other day when they switched the World Cup final site from Jerry World in Arlington to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, you want to talk about a non-walkable event. Just your thoughts on the World Cup coming in 2026 and what kind of an impact it's going to have on soccer in the U.S.
I'm very pumped for it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I kind of love where we're at right now in terms of being at the epicenter of the sports world with Los Angeles and Las Vegas. So Los Angeles will be hosting a lot of big games, not the final. They did not configure the field to be soccer friendly. Again, they're not even getting a semifinal game. But you're 100% right. And I'm glad you said New Jersey, because they're going to say the final is in New York. Well, not quite. You have to get on a bus or a train to get out to New Jersey for the game. I totally understand. I was a kid back in '94 when the Rose Bowl hosted a ton of big World Cup games. So I'm just happy that the world sport, soccer, will be played. The World Cup is coming here. Still bummed, by the way, that Las Vegas is not in that rotation. I get that they wanted to either host a semifinal or something like that. But it is an amazing soccer venue. I've seen a few games out there, and what an amazing crowd.
And, of course, the World Cup final going to be played on the much maligned turf, I should say, or grass, I should say, the non-turf at MetLife Stadium, let alone the storyline with the 49ers practice facility this week, which whoever's idea it was to put a grass field on top of a turf field with nothing in the middle, that leaves a lot to be desired. But that is a story for another day. He's Arash Markazi. Arash, thanks so much for joining us. I've been looking forward to having you for a while and was glad that we were able to connect. Founder, CEO of Sporting Tribune, how can people find you? What can they look for?
TheSportingTribune.com. Again, we cover Southern California, Las Vegas, Hawaii, and again, love the South Point. Got that San Diego, Southern California vibe with the Del Mar, the deli where you can get a great sandwich. I'll be stopping by to see you guys at some point. But thanks so much for having me on. It's a thrill.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
There he goes, Arash Markazi of the Sporting Tribune, joining us for his debut here on the South Point Studios. And I love Arash's content. Was glad to kind of get his thoughts on the stuff around the Super Bowl. We've been talking so much about the numbers and the betting, but it is a spectacle, and it happens to be in our backyard, and nobody better to tell us about that than Arash.
I'm excited. I'm going to go to Radio Row probably Thursday, Friday. I'll have to look for him, and hopefully he's still there throughout the week. But yeah, it was a perfect setup because you're right. A lot of people who haven't been have no idea what we're really talking about when we say Radio Row. So he did a great job breaking it down.
I thought that was interesting. You'll likely see that clip later on our social media. I think it's important to kind of tell people what the experience is like from our side of the counter, because they don't hear us talking about it enough, right?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, wanted to get Arash's thoughts on the game, and yeah, the World Cup final as well. It much maligned MetLife Stadium. They're going to have some debacles about the grass in that one, but that is for 2026, so not for a while. But wanted to continue our college basketball talk because there is an absolutely loaded slate tonight, and a lot of games featuring ranked teams. We've already talked about one of them with Ole Miss and South Carolina. We're both on the Gamecocks. You'll see our picks later on in the show, and at the end especially. Another one that starts at 4 o'clock. You can watch this one on ESPN, 6:33, 6:34 in the betting rotation. It's Clemson heading north to Chapel Hill to take on number 3 North Carolina. Tar Heels laying 6.5. That's a number that I like as a home favorite. UNC has been phenomenal, especially when they get really rolling in ACC play in years recently.
They've been really good, and they've been really good at covering numbers. I went ahead and just took them on the money line just to be safe. They are coming off a big game against Duke that they did win. But, man, we really missed an opportunity last week, Matt. We were talking about them against Georgia Tech, and we both stayed away from them that day, which is surprising because we both do usually back the Tar Heels, but It was a good decision, and it was clearly a look-ahead game for them going into their game against Duke. So just once again, reiterating, college basketball, look for those spots.
Yeah, part of the handicap for me on this one was recency because these two teams played each other in early January. North Carolina, 10-point winners. Armando Bacot had a big game, 14 points, 16 rebounds. I think that's a trend that continues tonight. And that game was in Clemson. This game in Chapel Hill. It's a huge home court advantage for them, and they won by 10. I really like the 6.5. R.J. Davis, also the number, 11 scorer in the country. He's averaging over 21 points per game. But in his last 2 games, Alex, he has been hot. 36 and 28 points in his last 2 games. Both Tar Heels wins, both Tar Heels covers. And the trend I told you about pre-show, I didn't tell you the trend itself. Yeah. UNC, since 2012, when coming off of a regular season win against Duke.
Okay.
And they're greater than 2-point favorites in the next game. 17-0 straight up and against the spread.
Wow.
So they take momentum from beating Duke and ride it into their next game way, way, way more often than not. I mean, 17 times in the last 13 years. That's certainly a trend that you can bet.
And this is a great team. I mean, you got to take into consideration each team is different year by year, but this North Carolina team is finally getting the respect they deserve. They're sitting at 3 on the rankings, and well-deserved. I mean, they are playing outstanding basketball.
And this is a better Clemson team than we've seen in years past, but they are struggling in the ACC. They're 4-6 in their last 10, all ACC games, whereas North Carolina 10-1 in the ACC. That Georgia Tech game, their only loss in conference play. So I'm on the Tar Heels, laying the 6.5. Alex is on the Tar Heels money line at a bigger number. That game starts at 4 at ESPN. Another one that we were both taking a look at that starts at 5. Number 21 BYU in Norman taking on Oklahoma. The Sooners actually laying 2.5 and a total of 150. BYU always brings elevated totals. I was surprised to see this Oklahoma team that's kind of going the wrong direction laying 2 points against BYU. I think the home court has something to do with that.
I was going to say, I think that is just it right there, that home court advantage here. I didn't play this one. I was looking at BYU, though. I thought this game could have even been a pick. So getting 2 points, I think that's the deal there. They are the better team. I mean, they're 9th overall on KenPom, 9th adjusted offense, and 24th adjusted defense efficiency. So I do like the Cougars.
And BYU in their first year in the Big 12 trying to take advantage of a soft middle portion of their schedule. It's their 6th straight game against non-ranked opponents, which in the Big 12, which has 6 teams ranked right now and 9 teams projected to get into the NCAA tournament, the fact that BYU is played 6 in a row that are unranked, that's huge. That's remarkable in that conference. The other note that I had in this one, BYU's got 7 players averaging 9 or more points per game. They are one of the most balanced teams and one of the top defensive teams in all of college basketball. And the other one, For Oklahoma, they've lost 3 of their last 4, so they're going to try and slow down this BYU team that leads the country in three-pointers made a game. They're making over 12 three-pointers a game, but that's the style that they play in Provo. So I like BYU. I took money line at plus 110 as a 2-point dog. And another Big 12 dog that I like is Iowa State, number 14 Iowa State, taking on Texas in Austin, 641, 642 on the betting rotation. The Longhorns laying 2.5, total of 139.5.
I like Iowa State in this one. I definitely grabbed the 2 points. Debated about the money line, but you have something to say about that. I'm interested to hear. But I mean, it's really just all about this Iowa State defense. They are so good. They're 5th in adjusted defense efficiency on KenPom, and they keep proving it night in after night out. They've already had a big win on the road. They almost did in their last game, so I think they'll keep this close here.
And the thing that I like about Iowa State getting 2 points, and the reason typically if I see a line of 2.5 or 3 and I like the dog, I'll just lay money line. You're going to get plus value on it, anywhere up to like plus 120, 130. This one, I took the 2 points with Iowa State because their last game against Baylor, they were down 2 at the second and a half.
Right.
They thought that they had banked in a game-winning 3-pointer. However, on the review, the tip of the ball, the raised edge of the ball was on the raised edge of the finger, and the shot was waved off, and they lost by 2. So I think it's going to be another pretty close game, but I like Iowa State to take down Texas. Keyshawn Gilbert, who we know from his time at UNLV, having a phenomenal year under former UNLV head coach TJ Otzelberger. Gilbert, one of the best defensive, bigger point guards in the country. He's a 6'4" point guard, and he plays defense like his hair's on fire. We saw that plenty here. This is the only matchup between these two teams on the year, and the home team won each matchup last year, so I like Iowa State to buck that trend. Keyshawn Gilbert, from a scoring perspective, though, he's scored 15 or more points in 4 straight games. He had 24 in that game against Baylor. So if Keyshawn Gilbert can score, I like Iowa State to win that game. And we're both on the dog in this one.
So you took the points, a little on the money line.
Took the points, little on the money line. I did, just for full disclosure, for fun, I took BYU money line, Iowa State money line, parlayed them together. I got just over 3-1. I think it was like 312, plus 312. So if you're looking for a parlay, always tough to lay road dogs. These are 2 road dogs that I like, and they happen to be back-to-back in the rotation numbers. So just for fun, I threw some pizza money on that.
I mean, just to give you a shout out, you did hit one of those last week where you tied up 2 underdog money line like that.
I had a lot of dogs last week, and conventional wisdom, you see my little smile there, tells you to not tease college basketball, and I rarely, if ever, do. I don't know what came over me. This was on Saturday. 3-leg, 5-point college basketball teaser that hit by, I think, a combined 4 points.
Oh, my God.
So I had to sweat out Brown. I had to sweat out Wyoming. Who was the third? I forget who the third one was. But yeah, 3-leg money line, or 3-leg teaser with all dogs that hit. I'll take what I can get. Not doing that today, but I like the money line parlay if you wanted just an extra, 3-1 value on a couple of road dogs in the Big 12. You've got a couple of totals that you like. One of them in a ranked matchup, 643, 644 on the rotation number. Number 25, New Mexico, who barely stayed in the AP top 25 after falling in their last game, takes on, where am I looking here? It takes on Wyoming in Laramie at 5:30. Total on this one, only 155. That's a high total, but for this Lobos team, that is low.
Only 155. That's right. I do like this over. Both of these teams have been playing much faster. They did play already this year, and that was a very low final score, 77-60, but it was also a slower pace than these two play. Both teams are 4-1 to the over in their last 5. And New Mexico, I mean, really, it's all about their offense. They're 38 adjusted offense efficiency. And then on the flip side, Wyoming, they don't have very strong defense. 223rd adjusted defense on KenPom. So I'll go ahead and take this over here in the Mountain West.
I like that as well. Definite lean for me. That game starts at 5:30, so we've got some time to look at that and handicap it. You also like 2 other road teams in the Mountain West. You like Nevada catching 5.5 at number 22 Utah State, and number 24 San Diego State laying 9.5 at Air Force.
So I do like SDSU. 11 is a really big number, but it is Air Force, and I know how you feel about the Falcons as well. But I think I moneylined them with my North Carolina play.
Okay.
So I kind of did a money line favorites.
Getting close to even money.
Parlay. Yes, getting close to even money. Exactly. So that one, just to be safe, they are on the road, but I do think that SDSU is the right side in that one. And Nevada, 5.5 points. I just think that is way too much. I know this Utah State is pretty good and slightly better than the Wolfpack, but Nevada's got revenge from last year. Utah State won 75-66, so I think they'll be ready to play in this one.
And Utah State's one of those teams where, as their big man, Great Osabor, goes, so do they. If Nevada's able to lock him down with a lot of the size and depth at that position that they do, I really like that. And then you were actually more on, I remember we were talking pre-show, you were more on the under in San Diego State Air Force. That game at 133.5 as of right now. I like that under as well. San Diego State, one of the best defensive teams, not only on the West Coast, but in the country. And this Air Force team that really, really struggles. They also run the 2-3 zone defense perpetually for the entirety of the game, for the entirety of the year. And a team like San Diego State that is well coached and as deep at the guard position as it gets in the country, especially Jaden Ledee, the way to beat the zone defense is to shoot your way past it. And I think San Diego State's going to do enough. I like the under, though.
I do like the under, too. I made it about 125, so I think you're getting some value there. It's at 133.5, usually looking for about 5-point difference there. So you're right. I do agree with you on that play as well.
That's one we'll take a look at. I don't know if you have a play on this one. I do. I'm on Ohio State. The Buckeyes laying 5.5 at home against Indiana in a Big Ten matchup. 609, 610 on the betting rotation. Ohio State 65th in KenPom, Indiana 99th, but they're 254th in terms of defensive efficiency. This Hoosiers team has no interest in playing defense. The other note in this one is that if Ohio State gets up or is up in the second half, they're 302nd in the country in pace out of 362 teams. So if they get up, they're going to slow this one to a snail's pace, and I think that they're going to be able to maintain a lead. This one may come down to a late free throw, but I'm going to lay it with the Buckeyes. Also, take a look at the over on this one. 141.5 is the total. Ohio State, I should say, has allowed 79 or more points in their last 4 games. They're also coming in desperate. The Buckeyes have lost 4 in a row. They're 3-8 in Big Ten play, so they're looking to turn their season around in a major way in front of a home crowd in Columbus. I like Ohio State minus 5.5. Do you have any thoughts one way or another on this game that starts right when we get off the air here in about 10 minutes?
I mean, Indiana hasn't been too great, right? Just 1-4 straight up, 2-3 ATS in their last 5. And on the road, they're 3-6 this year and 3-5-1 against the spread. So I thought the number was right. I do think these two are pretty evenly matched, but I would go with the home team here. I just think 6 is a lot.
Any other hoops games you got action on or are taking a look at on the college realm, or is that a pretty good summation of what you're taking a look at for this evening?
I think that is. I think you summed it up very good. I mean, I would say Houston coming off a loss to Kansas. I think they are going to have their way here with Oklahoma State and the Cowboys.
Laying
but
21 points.
I was looking to the under there, but I don't know. I don't know what we're going to expect from Houston. I was thinking if we had a Oklahoma State team total, I could go under that, but
not with a spread that big.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of that game, Houston, Kansas, last weekend?
I don't remember.
So it was in Lawrence. Kansas absolutely ran them out of the gym in the first half. Had a big time lead going into the second half, and then all of a sudden Houston came creeping back. At one point, it was a 10-point game. And Bill Self called a timeout up, I think, 10 with like 2 minutes left. I don't think I've ever seen him more mad at a team than he was at his own in that situation. So Houston kind of found a way late in that game. For them, it was just too little too late. But It's kind of an interesting conundrum you've got with Kelvin Sampson's team. It's the top defensive team in the country, bar none. It's just a matter of where the offense comes from. And where the offense comes from at a 21-point spread, the total's at 128. So you are thinking that Houston absolutely railroads Oklahoma State tonight and limits them to like 45 points if you like them to cover that number. I would even think about just laying a 21, or rather taking the 21 with Oklahoma State just because of how big that number is and how defense-centric this Houston team is.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense.
I'm not advising a play, but that's just at least my thinking on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, really stay away for me either way, because I think we kind of just broke it down that the numbers are just about right on the site and the total.
Yeah, big slate. Definitely take a look at your local listings and take a look at some of the numbers. We'll flash our plays here at the end of the show. Any NBA notes for today from you? Because the one note that I've got, and it's really interesting, especially for general public bettors who love hitting favorites. The NBA over the last 2 days has had 15 games all across the association. The favorites, 15-0 straight up, 12-3 against the spread. That is a crazy run for faves.
That is. That's incredible. Do you have any favorites that you are leaning to tonight? based off of those numbers.
One favorite that I am leaning to is one of the only 2 road favorites in, 8 games, and it's the Dallas Mavericks playing in a back-to-back against the Brooklyn Nets, who are also on a back-to-back. The Mavs defeated the 76ers without Joel Embiid. He's expected to miss a couple of weeks with a knee procedure. 118-102 was the final there. The Nets got crushed by the Warriors. Final score doesn't show how lopsided this game was. 109-98 was the final there. And I like the Mavericks to come in with something to prove, and Luka still with the MVP chance, really going to have a big game. Kyrie scored 29 last night. I think tonight's Luka's time to shine. Not a huge play for me, but Mavericks -3.5 in a game that starts in about a half an hour. I like Dallas here.
I like it. And you know what? With NBA, if you can get some in-game and they go down at any point, you can get even money with the Mavs just to win outright. So that might be something I'm looking at. But Dallas, I mean, you're right. Even on the road, they've been very good. 14-9 against the spread this year. So
the biggest favorite of the night, certainly not a play that I'll have in the on the card, but the Knicks. How about a 15-point favorite against the Grizzlies? If you've got 2 working arms, 2 working legs, and a somewhat operational mind, you have a chance to suit up for the Memphis Grizzlies. They have been the most hurt team that I can remember in the NBA. I think the number was 13 different players on their injury report for their most recent game.
Oh my gosh.
Derrick Rose, Ja Morant, Steven Adams. It's like their entire starting lineup has been gone 2 or 3 times over. I don't think I've seen a more injured team than the Memphis Grizzlies. Just bad luck for them this year.
yes, terrible luck. And now they have lost 5 straight. So I don't know if we can take those points, even though it is a lot of points in the NBA.
And congratulations to Ryan Arcidiacono, who broke an NBA record in his most recent game. It's not the record you want. Would you believe that the former Final Four MVP for Villanova, 15 straight games without recording a point?
No.
He has played in 15 games in a row and not scored. He's just out there getting cardio in.
No, I did not know that.
So that's, Ryan Arcidiacono. Congratulations. He had a storied college career. Has not been quite the same since moving to the association. We'll finish up on some hockey. Alex has one play that she really likes tonight and one that Lou Finocchiaro predicted. What was that, last week?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to that one in a minute, but the play that you really like is on game number 15-16 in the betting rotation, Flyers at Panthers in Sunrise, Florida, just outside Miami.
So you did such a good job getting all your information, and I meant to look back because I remember last year after the All-Star game, really these teams like buckling down, playing tougher, more meaningful games, and their defense really coming to life here at the end of the season. So I need to go back and double check that. But you know I love my unders in hockey. So tonight we are going with the Flyers, Panthers under 6. Flyers are 15-9 to the under on the road this year. Urson, I hope that's right, 8-4 to the under. He'll be in net for Philadelphia. The Panthers are 30-18 to the under, and then we've got Bobrovsky. He is 23-13 to the under this season. Now he was at the All-Star game and in the challenges, but I think that just keeps goalies fresh. So
yeah, honestly,
I think this is a good play here under 6.
I've got an NHL play today.
Love it.
I don't often. I'm a Penguins guy. They've been tough to bet on this year just because they're so old, I guess, and unpredictable. It's
They're pretty good.
They are solid, but with age comes beauty. At least on the ice,
like fine wine,
or so they say. But my play is in the Carolinas tonight. I like the Hurricanes against the Canucks, welcoming the Canucks into PNC Arena about 10 minutes from where my mom lives. The Canes 15-2-2 at home this year, and coming off of that decently long break, they had a day off before the All-Star break even, so their break was a day longer than everybody else. I like the Canes to continue that home success tonight.
Yeah, and the Canucks did have a lot of players that were actually there for All-Star Weekend. It's weird. There was a lot of teams that were kind of left out. Vancouver was not one of them. So we even saw yesterday, it seemed like a little bit of a trend, Colorado going down. And who else was it? Well, it was Colorado and the Rangers, so that's a little different. But yeah, I think this will be a great game to watch. The Vancouver's for real, and the Hurricanes have been for the last couple years.
Yeah, some interesting hockey action going on tonight, and as we get closer to the Super Bowl, stay tuned to South Point Studios for more shorts, live shows, and then, of course, Race Day Las Vegas, punchlines, and here on Sports by the Book. It's going to be fluid the rest of the week. I'll be in studio in some capacity helping out tomorrow. Jeff Parles looks like he's going to be over at Allegiant Stadium on Radio Row getting some interviews, so we'll be kind of interspersing his work with our live commentary throughout the show. That's tomorrow here on Sports by the Book, and we've got a loaded week here at South Point Studios leading all the way up to Super Bowl 58. You'll want to stay tuned to our social medias as well for what we will be covering. I know I'll be here helping out in the lead up to the game, and you'll be here as well. It's going to be a really, really fun lead up to the game, and then, of course, we get to watch it at some of the best watch parties in Las Vegas. Chris has me excited about some of these watch parties here at South Point.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. And as much as you love this week, and we get to talk about football all week, and one really good matchup, you're ready for Sunday, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And
Can't
then
come fast enough.
Meaningless void until next July,
That's
August,
right.
whenever the preseason starts.
There is a video on social media. I have to ask you if you saw this, but a guy really broke down for women what their guys will be doing the next few months. And I mean, that calendar looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It got me a little excited. We got NBA and NHL playoffs coming up, and then we got golf, and we got the Kentucky Derby. So, I mean, no football, but we still got a lot of things.
A lot of work went into that. I give that guy props, both on the calendar and his beard that he was rocking. That dude, he put in some work.
And the shirt changes.
Yeah,
throughout the video.
that was
good.
well choreographed.
Yes, it was.
Also, I don't know if you saw, there was an article on Yahoo Sports about our man Jimmy Vaccaro.
I did see that.
Definitely
yes.
check it
well
out. Chris
done.
Andrews posted it on his Twitter, an article just about the history of Jimmy Vaccaro. He's one of the most unique individuals I've ever met, whether it's in the sports betting industry or otherwise. And definitely go check that out. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe here on South Point Studios as well. We're trying to get those subscribers up. And one more time before we get out of here, want to flash our college basketball plays for the day, starting with Alex's. You'll find a lot of similarities here. Alex is on South Carolina. You're on the under in Rutgers, Maryland. We're both on Iowa State. We both laid the 2. New Mexico, Wyoming under, and then the Flyers, Panthers under 6.
Very good. And then the Knights play tonight. That's what we were going to mention about Lou, but we got to get to your plays as well.
Yeah, my plays tonight. I'm also on South Carolina. I'm also on Iowa State. I also laid the points with the UNC Tar Heels. BYU moneyline, Iowa State minus 5.5 against Indiana. And just for fun, BYU moneyline and Iowa State moneylines parlayed together at just over 3-1. And yeah, on the way out, tell us about the Lou Finocchiaro Edmonton, Vegas hockey prediction.
Well, I guess we are taking the Knights tonight because he was looking at that last week. He was thinking the Knights would be a small favorite.
This was 8 days ago he predicted this.
It was. Well, the Knights are the underdog, so you can get plus money. So I think it's a good play. Maybe sprinkle a little on VGK tonight to break the streak of Edmonton.
Thanks to @GamBlue for that one. She's Alex White. I'm Matt Neverett. Caden, Ann, and Andrew behind the glass, thanks for all your work, not only on Sports by the Book, but on all of our programming here at South Point Studios. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check us out tomorrow back here on Sports by the Book at 3 o'clock on the West Coast. Until then, thank you for joining.